When we speak of football, we often celebrate its purity, the skill, the passion, the collective spirit. Yet beneath the surface, a darker current has always flowed. An unspoken truth that cheating in football possesses a history spanning over 100 years. From the crude, almost primal methods of the game's nascent days to the sophisticated deceptions of the modern era, the pursuit of an unfair advantage is a constant companion to the pursuit of victory. We have seen players digging holes in the pitch to injure opponents, and even, by 1960, hiding blades in their boots. Today, the subterfuge might involve lasers used to blind opposing players, a stark evolution from the rough-and-ready tactics of generations past. This drive to win, by any means necessary, found its first infamous manifestation in 1915, with the earliest recorded match-fixing scandal in English football. It involved two giants of the game, Manchester United and Liverpool. At this critical juncture, Manchester United found themselves in a precarious position, facing potential relegation from the top division. Liverpool, by contrast, enjoyed a comfortable mid-table position, seemingly with little at stake in the fixture. This burgeoning professionalism of football, where livelihoods and club reputations hung in the balance, amplified the motivation for some to seek an unfair advantage. During the match itself, observers reported highly unusual behavior from the Liverpool players. The referee, acutely aware of the dynamics on the field, specifically noted a conspicuous lack of commitment from the Liverpool team throughout the game. One particularly damning moment saw Liverpool players intentionally miss a penalty kick, a clear signal of their intent. Further betraying the conspiracy, some Liverpool players openly displayed anger when their teammates actually attempted to score goals, revealing a deep-seated plot against the integrity of the game. The match concluded with a final score of 2-0 in favor of Manchester United. This 2-0 victory was precisely what Manchester United needed to avoid relegation, securing their place in the top flight for another season. The direct consequence of this result was the unfortunate relegation of Chelsea from the league, becoming an unwitting victim of the scandal. Subsequent investigations uncovered a shocking truth: 7 players had participated in a betting scandal directly related to this match. These 7 players had collectively placed bets on the precise 2-0 outcome for Manchester United, ensuring personal financial gain alongside the fixed result. The English Football Association responded with a swift and unequivocal condemnation, imposing lifetime bans on all 7 players involved in fixing the game, setting an early, severe precedent against such corruption. Despite this landmark punishment, match fixing regrettably continues to be a recurring issue in modern football, a ghost that refuses to be laid to rest. However, other forms of cheating, some now thankfully obsolete, painted a different picture of dishonesty. We can look back to a time when officials, or sometimes even players themselves, physically dug holes in the pitch, a brazen tactic employed with the sole intention of causing injuries to opposing players. This crude form of sabotage aimed to diminish the opponent's physical capacity before the whistle had even blown. In 1924, the Argentinian team Chacarita famously engaged in this audacious act of pitch sabotage. Their objective was nothing less than to win the league title, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve it. The team covertly entered the pitch late at night before a crucial match, under the cover of darkness. They meticulously dug holes in the ground, calculating that rival players would unwittingly fall into them and suffer debilitating leg injuries, thereby hindering their performance. Remarkably, their elaborate plan failed spectacularly. The opposing team somehow managed to avoid the sabotaged areas of the pitch, perhaps through sheer luck or careful observation. The rivals won the match the following day, securing the league title despite Chacarita's deceitful attempt to undermine fair play. In this instance, the cheating tactics employed did not achieve the desired outcome for Chacarita, serving as a cautionary tale that dishonesty does not always guarantee success. While certainly unethical, digging holes in the pitch might be seen as a less extreme form of cheating compared to some other tactics that emerged, for example, the use of sharp objects. By 1960, the notorious Argentinian midfielder Carlos Bilardo reportedly took on-field aggression to a darker level using needles hidden in his boots. His chilling intention was to prick opponents during play, a truly underhanded and dangerous tactic designed to disrupt and intimidate. Bilardo, a character of immense complexity, continued to employ highly controversial methods even as a manager, cementing his reputation for dirty tricks. He famously encouraged his players to rub deep heat, cream into opponents' eyes during scrums and set pieces, a painful and distracting tactic designed to impair vision and focus. The stories even suggest Bilardo offered doped water to the Brazilian team during a World Cup match in the 1990s, pushing the boundaries of sportsmanship beyond recognition. Despite, or perhaps because of, these undeniably dirty tactics, Bilardo achieved significant success in his managerial career. He notably managed Argentina to a World Cup victory, an achievement that cemented his name in football history, albeit with a deeply controversial reputation that lingers to this day. The use of illicit substances or underhanded methods to gain an advantage has been a persistent issue in sports across many disciplines, long preceding the formal anti-doping regulations we see today. The line between acceptable gamesmanship and outright cheating has always been blurry, encompassing tactics like feigning injury, exaggerating contact, or time wasting, all designed to gain an edge without overtly breaking written rules. In the early days of football, regulations were far less comprehensive regarding off-field conduct or the more subtle on-field deceptions. The English FA's lifetime ban in 1915 against the match fixers set an early, powerful precedent for severe penalties against corruption, signaling a nascent understanding of the need to protect the game's integrity. Player ethics and sportsmanship were often informally policed by fellow players and crowd reactions, rather than through the robust official structures and technological oversight we have today. The rise of professional football, with its increased stakes and financial rewards, significantly heightened the motivation for players and clubs to seek unfair advantages. However, technological advancements in broadcasting and officiating, such as VAR and extensive camera coverage, have made it increasingly harder to conceal some traditional forms of cheating, even while opening new avenues for deception, like sophisticated drone surveillance for tactical advantage. This ongoing cat-and-mouse game between those who seek to cheat and those who strive to uphold the game's integrity remains a fascinating, if sometimes troubling, aspect of football's long and complex story. Next, we will delve into how these forms of deception continue to evolve, and the unforgettable moments where the line between genius and villainy was forever blurred. One of the earliest and most infamous instances of widespread deception in football surfaced during the tumultuous period of the First World War. While the conflict raged across Europe, threatening to overshadow all aspects of civilian life, a scandal of a different kind rocked English football, permanently etching the spectre of match-fixing into its history. This pivotal event, the first recorded match-fixing scandal in football, occurred in 1915 and involved two prominent English clubs, Manchester United and Liverpool. The stakes were incredibly high for Manchester United, who were teetering on the brink of potential relegation from the top division. Liverpool, by contrast, found themselves in a relatively comfortable mid-table position, seemingly with little to play for. The match, played on April 2, 1915, was a critical fixture for United. From the outset, observers noted unusual behavior from several Liverpool players. The referee himself specifically observed a conspicuous lack of commitment from the Liverpool team, an anomaly given the competitive nature of professional football. The most glaring act of deliberate underperformance came when Liverpool players intentionally missed a penalty kick, a moment that sent a ripple of suspicion through the crowd. Furthermore, several Liverpool players displayed open anger and frustration when their teammates genuinely attempted to score goals, betraying a premeditated design to control the outcome. The match concluded with a score of 2-0 in favour of Manchester United. This precise victory was exactly what Manchester United needed to avoid relegation, securing their place in the top flight. Conversely, Chelsea, another team battling relegation, was relegated from the league as a direct result of this manipulated match outcome. The injustice was palpable. Investigations swiftly followed, revealing a sordid truth. 7 players had participated in a betting scandal related to the match. These players, from both Manchester United and Liverpool, had conspired and placed bets on the precise 2-0 outcome for Manchester United. The English Football Association, FA, reacted with swift and severe punishment, imposing lifetime bans on these 7 players for their involvement in fixing the game. This landmark decision by the FA in 1915 set an early and crucial precedent for severe penalties against match fixing, underscoring the game's commitment to integrity even in its nascent professional era. The scandal highlighted how the burgeoning professionalism of the sport had significantly increased the stakes, thereby providing greater motivation for players and clubs to seek unfair advantages, even at the cost of the game's soul. Disturbingly, match fixing continues to be a recurring issue in modern football, a testament to the enduring temptation of illicit gains. Beyond the calculated deception of match fixing, some instances of cheating were remarkably crude, yet equally audacious. One such form, no longer prevalent, involved officials or even players physically digging holes in the pitch before a match. This tactic was employed with the intention of causing injuries to opposing players, transforming the very playing field into a weapon. A particularly infamous example of pitch sabotage occurred in 1924, involving the Argentinian team Chacarita. Chacarita, desperate to win the league title, resorted to an extraordinary act of subterfuge. Under the cloak of darkness, the team covertly entered the pitch late at night before a crucial match. Armed with spades, they dug numerous holes in the ground, strategically anticipating that rival players, especially those in key attacking or defensive positions, would fall into them and suffer debilitating leg injuries. The plan was as simple as it was nefarious. However, on match day, fate, or perhaps careful observation, intervened. The opposing team, forewarned or simply astute, managed to navigate and largely avoid the sabotaged areas of the pitch. Consequently, Chacarita's rivals won the match the following day, securing the league title despite Chacarita's blatant cheating attempt. In this instance, the primitive yet sinister tactics employed did not achieve the desired outcome for Chacarita, serving as a cautionary tale that even the most underhanded methods can fail spectacularly. While digging holes in the pitch showcased a certain primitive audacity, the evolution of cheating tactics quickly moved beyond mere landscaping. It's safe to say that such actions are considered far less extreme than the more direct, personal, and potentially career-ending harm inflicted by other methods, such as the use of needles on boots. The progression of deceit saw a shift from passive environmental manipulation to active physical aggression. In 1960, the football world was introduced to the controversial figure of Argentinian midfielder Carlos Bilardo. First, reports emerged that Bilardo, then a player, reportedly used needles in his boots. His intention, chillingly pragmatic, was to prick opponents during play, disrupting their focus, inflicting pain, and gaining a psychological edge. This tactic, a stark departure from the less direct forms of sabotage, underscored a growing willingness to employ overtly aggressive and unethical means to win. Bilardo's controversial approach to the game didn't wane when he transitioned into management. If anything, it intensified. As a manager, Carlos Bilardo continued to employ a range of dirty tactics that would become synonymous with his teams. He infamously encouraged his players to rub deep heat cream into opponents' eyes during scuffles or set pieces, a tactic designed to temporarily blind and disorient. Perhaps even more shockingly, Bilardo was implicated in the infamous incident during the 1990 World Cup, where he allegedly offered doped water containing sedatives to the Brazilian team during their match against Argentina. The objective was clear: gain an unfair physical and mental advantage. Despite, or perhaps because of, these highly questionable methods, Bilardo achieved significant success. He famously managed Argentina to a World Cup victory in 1986, cementing his name in football history, albeit with a deeply controversial reputation. His legacy serves as a powerful illustration of the blurred line between genius and villainy, where cunning and unsportsmanlike conduct were, in his view, simply tools in the pursuit of ultimate glory. His career highlights the persistent issue of the use of illicit substances or methods to gain an advantage, a problem that existed long before formal anti-doping regulations became widespread. The concept of gamesmanship versus cheating often blurs with tactics like feigning injury or time wasting. These actions, while often infuriating to opponents and fans, are generally tolerated within the unwritten rules of the game to varying degrees, considered part of the psychological warfare. Yet, the leap from these subtle manipulations to outright physical harm or chemical interference marks a significant departure from acceptable conduct. Early football regulations were notably less comprehensive regarding off-field conduct or subtle on-field deceptions. The evolution of professional football, with its increased stakes and growing financial rewards, naturally led to greater motivation for players and clubs to seek every conceivable advantage, fair or foul. This ever-present temptation continues to challenge the integrity of the sport. In our first chapter, we explored the hidden depths of football's dark side, moments where ambition eclipsed fair play and the spirit of the game was tested. Now, we delve further into the annals of infamy, examining three distinct instances where the line between competition and blatant deception was not merely blurred but completely obliterated. We explore the consequences when players and managers decide the rules do not apply to them. 1983 brought a truly significant incident of cheating that left the legendary Diego Maradona with a broken leg. This was not merely a clumsy challenge, but one of the most brutal tackles ever documented in football history, leaving an indelible mark on the sport. The perpetrator was Andoni Goicoechea, a central defender for Athletic Bilbao, whose reputation preceded him. Goicoechea was widely known throughout the football world as the Butcher of Bilbao, a moniker earned due to his consistently aggressive and often reckless playing style. During a highly anticipated match against Barcelona, Goicoechea's aggression escalated far beyond what could be considered fair play, transforming into blatant cheating. He intentionally tackled Maradona, who at the time was widely considered the very best player in the world, with the clear and horrifying intent to injure. The tackle was catastrophic, causing Maradona to sustain a broken ankle, a career-threatening injury for any athlete. For his heinous actions, Goicoechea received a 16-game ban from football, a lengthy suspension reflecting the severity of his deliberate foul. Remarkably, Goicoechea displayed no remorse whatsoever for the damage inflicted on Maradona, showing a chilling lack of sportsmanship. In a perverse twist, he reportedly keeps the very boot used in that infamous tackle on display in his home as a macabre memento of the incident, a stark reminder of a severe breach of sportsmanship and fair play. Moving away from direct player violence, another manager once concocted an audacious plan to bend the rules to his will. Graham Souness, managing the Scottish club Rangers, attempted to literally shrink a football pitch to gain an advantage. Souness' team was preparing for the second leg of a crucial European Cup match against Dynamo Kiev. Rangers had lost the first leg of the tie by a narrow score of 1-0, placing them at a disadvantage. Souness, a man known for his tactical ingenuity and fierce competitive spirit, devised a plan based on his team's perceived physical advantage over their opponents. He believed Rangers could win by increasing the physicality of the game rather than relying on superior football skill, turning the match into a battle of strength and endurance. On the day of the match, Souness instructed the club ground staff to subtly alter the pitch dimensions. The white lines marking the pitch boundaries were moved inwards, a clandestine operation designed to go unnoticed. This alteration resulted in a significantly tighter playing area, intended specifically to promote a more physical and congested style of play that suited Rangers. Dynamo Kiev players had trained on a standard-sized pitch the day prior to the match, expecting the same conditions for the game. The Kiev team experienced a significant surprise upon discovering the visibly altered pitch, a discovery that undoubtedly unsettled their pre-match preparations. Despite the controversial tactics, Rangers ultimately won the match 2-0 on the day, securing their progression. This 2-0 victory allowed Rangers to progress to the next round of the competition, achieving Souness's desired outcome. At the time, no specific rule explicitly prohibited altering pitch dimensions in this manner before a game, operating in a grey area of the rulebook. However, following this infamous incident, a new rule was swiftly implemented by football authorities to prevent any recurrence. Clubs were subsequently required to announce their pitch size before the start of each season, ensuring transparency and fair play. Pitch dimensions are now standardized in football, and any unauthorized alteration is strictly prohibited, reinforcing the principles of fair competition. Despite the ambiguity regarding pitch size rules in that era, a more flagrant incident involved a goalkeeper engaging in undeniable cheating, one that had monumental consequences. This goalkeeper's actions led directly to his country being banned from the World Cup, and the goalkeeper himself received a lifetime ban from the beautiful game. The date was September 3, 1989, a pivotal day when Brazil competed against Chile in a World Cup qualification match. The outcome of this high-stakes match would definitively determine which nation qualified for the prestigious World Cup. The Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro was at full capacity, with an astounding attendance of 141,000 spectators, all eagerly awaiting a dramatic encounter. In the first half, Chile managed to establish a 1-0 lead against their formidable opponents, a surprising turn of events. Roberto Rojas, the Chilean goalkeeper, was performing exceptionally well, making crucial saves and frustrating the Brazilian attack. During the course of the game, a flare was suddenly thrown onto the pitch, landing in relatively close proximity to Rojas. Medical staff quickly attended to Rojas, who was found to be bleeding from his head, and he was subsequently removed from the field of play. The Chilean team immediately claimed that Brazilian fans were directly responsible for throwing the flare, hoping to leverage the incident. However, this specific claim was not corroborated by camera footage, which showed the flare had not directly struck the goalkeeper. If Brazilian fans had indeed been found guilty of throwing the flare and causing the injury, Brazil would have been disqualified from the competition. Under such circumstances, Chile would have been automatically granted qualification to the World Cup, a tempting scenario for a team desperate to progress. A quick-thinking photographer, present at the match, captured crucial images of the incident from multiple angles. Upon development, the photographs definitively revealed that the flare was not close enough to Rojas to have actually hit him, exposing a major discrepancy in the Chilean story. Years later, Roberto Rojas finally confessed to his elaborate deception, unable to live with the secret any longer. He admitted to being utterly desperate to qualify for the World Cup, consumed by the pressure of the moment. Rojas had concealed a razor blade in his gloves before the match and, in a moment of pure desperation, used it to cut himself, faking the injury to manipulate the outcome. As a direct and severe consequence of his deception, Chile was immediately disqualified from the World Cup and subsequently banned from the next qualifying campaign. Roberto Rojas was issued a lifetime ban from professional football, effectively ending his career in disgrace. The Rojas incident led to increased scrutiny of player conduct and the swift introduction of stricter penalties for faking injuries and any form of deception. FIFA's role in enforcing rules and imposing severe penalties became significantly more pronounced after such high-profile cheating cases. This incident highlighted the immense pressure placed on national teams and individual players during World Cup qualifiers, sometimes pushing individuals to resort to desperate and unethical measures. Crucially, the introduction of photography and later video evidence began to play an increasingly vital role in investigating and ultimately exposing cheating, setting a powerful precedent for modern technologies like VAR. Beyond the grand stage of international qualifiers, individual acts of malice and cunning have also etched themselves into football's ignominious history. One of the most infamous instances of deliberate injury, bordering on criminal assault, occurred in 1983. The victim was none other than Diego Maradona, then widely considered the best player in the world, playing for Barcelona. The perpetrator was Andoni Goicoechea, a central defender for Athletic Bilbao, notorious for his fiercely aggressive playing style, which earned him the chilling moniker, the Butcher of Bilbao. In a heated La Liga match against Barcelona, Goicoechea's aggression escalated from uncompromising play to blatant, premeditated cheating. He launched into one of the most brutal tackles ever documented in football history, intentionally targeting Maradona with a clear intent to injure. The tackle was horrific. It wasn't an accident or a mistimed challenge, but a malicious lunge designed to inflict maximum damage. The immediate consequence was devastating. Maradona suffered a broken ankle, an injury that threatened to derail his burgeoning career. The football world reacted with outrage, and Goicoechea was rightly punished, receiving a 16-game ban from football for his deliberate act of violence. Yet, in a shocking display of remorselessness, Goicoechea reportedly showed no regret for the damage inflicted upon the Argentine maestro. Disturbingly, a persistent rumor, often recounted as fact, suggests that he kept the very boot used in the tackle on display in his home, a macabre memento of his darkest moment on the pitch. This deliberate injury of an opponent, particularly one of Maradona's stature, represented a severe breach of sportsmanship and fair play, underscoring the darker side of competitive pressure where victory is sought at any cost, even the career of an opponent. Cheating, however, isn't always about direct physical harm. It can also manifest in more subtle, yet equally unethical, manipulations of the game's conditions. Take, for example, the audacious actions of Graham Souness during his managerial stint at the Scottish club Rangers. In 1987, Rangers faced Dynamo Kyiv in the second leg of a European Cup match. Having lost the first leg 1-0, Souness was desperate to overturn the deficit. He devised a cunning plan based on his team's perceived physical advantage, believing Rangers could win by turning the game into a more physical battle rather than relying on superior football skill. On the day of the match, Souness instructed the club to covertly alter the pitch dimensions. The white lines marking the pitch boundaries were moved inwards, effectively shrinking the playing area. This alteration resulted in a tighter playing space, which Souness calculated would promote a more physical, attritional style of play, suiting his team's strengths and hindering the more technically adept Ukrainian side. The Dynamo Kyiv players, who had trained on a standard-sized pitch the day prior, experienced a significant surprise and understandable consternation upon discovering the altered pitch just before kickoff. Despite their protests and the clear intent to manipulate the game, Rangers ultimately won the match 2-0, a victory that allowed them to progress to the next round of the competition. At the time, remarkably, no specific rule explicitly prohibited altering pitch dimensions in this manner before a game, highlighting a curious loophole in the regulations. This incident, however, served as a powerful catalyst for change. Following the controversy, football authorities quickly implemented a new rule, requiring clubs to announce their pitch size before the start of each season, reinforcing the principle that pitch dimensions are standardized and any unauthorized alteration is now strictly prohibited, reinforcing fair competition. This incident, though less dramatic than the butcher of Bilbao's tackle, revealed another facet of cheating, the exploitation of regulatory gaps to gain an unfair advantage, prompting football's governing bodies to refine and tighten the laws of the game to ensure an even playing field for all. The incident with Graham Souness's Rangers attempting to shrink the pitch, while a clever exploitation of a rulebook loophole, pales in comparison to the sheer audacity and deception demonstrated by an infamous goalkeeper whose actions not only led to his country being banned from the World Cup, but also resulted in a lifetime ban from football for himself. This particular incident, now etched in football folklore as the Rojas incident, perfectly encapsulates the lengths to which some individuals will go when under immense pressure. On September 3, 1989, a cauldron of tension surrounded a World Cup qualification match between Brazil and Chile. The stakes were astronomical. The outcome of this single game would determine which nation qualified for the 1990 World Cup. The Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro was at full capacity, brimming with an astonishing 141,000 fervent spectators, creating an atmosphere charged with nationalistic fervor and desperate hope. In the first half, Chile, against many expectations, established a 1-0 lead, largely thanks to the heroics of their goalkeeper, Roberto Rojas, who was performing exceptionally. However, in the second half, with Brazil pressing relentlessly for an equalizer, a flare was thrown onto the pitch from the stands. It landed near Rojas, who immediately collapsed. Medical staff rushed to attend to him, and to the horror of the Chilean team, Rojas was found bleeding from his head, prompting his removal from the field. The Chilean team, seizing the moment, dramatically claimed that Brazilian fans were responsible for throwing the flare and intentionally injuring their star goalkeeper. Their argument was clear. If Brazilian fans had been found guilty of such an act, Brazil would have been disqualified and Chile would have been granted qualification to the World Cup under such circumstances. However, the dramatic narrative crafted by the Chilean team began to unravel almost immediately. Crucially, their specific claim was not corroborated by the available camera footage, which showed the flare landing some distance from Rojas. The truth, far more insidious, emerged thanks to the diligent work of a photographer who had captured a series of images of the incident. Upon development, these photographs provided irrefutable evidence. The flare was not close enough to Rojas to have hit him. Confronted with undeniable photographic evidence and intense scrutiny, Rojas eventually confessed to his actions. He admitted to being utterly desperate to qualify for the World Cup, a dream that had pushed him to a shocking act of deception. In a premeditated move, he had concealed a razor blade within his gloves. During the pandemonium following the flare landing on the pitch, he used the blade to cut himself, faking the injury to orchestrate Brazil's disqualification. The confession sent shockwaves through the football world. As a severe consequence of his deliberate deception and flagrant disregard for sportsmanship, Chile was disqualified from the World Cup. Roberto Rojas, the architect of this elaborate fraud, was issued a lifetime ban from professional football, effectively ending his career in disgrace. The Rojas incident led to increased scrutiny of player conduct and the swift introduction of stricter penalties for faking injuries and other forms of deception. FIFA's role in enforcing rules and imposing severe penalties became even more pronounced after such a high-profile case. It served as a stark reminder of the immense pressure placed on national teams and individual players during World Cup qualifiers, sometimes pushing individuals to resort to desperate and unethical measures. Critically, the dramatic impact of photography and later video evidence began to play an increasingly vital role in investigating and ultimately exposing cheating, setting a powerful precedent for modern technologies like VAR, which now stands as the ultimate arbiter in similar controversies, ensuring justice prevails even when human deception attempts to warp the truth. Before we delve further into the beautiful game and its often ugly underside, we have explored the cunning tactics and strategic deception that has always been a part of football's fabric. In this chapter, we turn our gaze to a period where these actions escalated dramatically, where the line between tactical nous and outright cheating often blurred completely, leaving an indelible mark on the sport we love. The 1990s marked an era where cheating in football became even more extreme, transforming from individual acts of gamesmanship into something far more pervasive. Some countries, for example, reportedly sent drones to spy on French training sessions, demonstrating a calculated effort to gain an illicit advantage before a ball was even kicked. This widespread disregard for fair play even led to a World Cup winner being caught doping and subsequently receiving a lifetime ban from football, a stark warning against the rising tide of illicit substances. One of the most famous figures embroiled in controversy was Diego Maradona, a man whose genius was matched only by his willingness to bend the rules. Maradona had a history of cheating, most notably his infamous Hand of God goal against England, where he deliberately handled the ball into the net. This moment, at the World Cup, allowed Argentina to eliminate England, cementing his legend but also his reputation for audacious trickery. In 1991, Maradona faced serious repercussions when he tested positive for doping, an incident that resulted in his 15-month suspension from football. Despite this significant ban, Maradona found himself in a remarkably similar situation just 3 years later. During the 1994 World Cup, he again tested positive for banned substances, facing the consequences without evasion this second time. The on-pitch deception also reached new heights, exemplified by players like Andreas Müller, who skillfully used simulation to help Borussia Dortmund win the Bundesliga title. In 1995, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich were locked in an intense competition for the Bundesliga title, making their direct match feel like a decisive final. During this pivotal game, Dortmund midfielder Andreas Müller dramatically simulated a foul in the penalty box, collapsing to the ground without clear contact. Müller later claimed he did not dive, yet observers noted a distinct lack of physical engagement, suggesting a clear embellishment. The referee awarded a penalty from this blatant dive, a decision that secured the game for Dortmund, proving instrumental in their quest for the title. This victory directly contributed to Borussia Dortmund ultimately winning the Bundesliga. Müller faced a 2-game ban, a fine, and a suspension from the national team following the incident. Despite these penalties, Müller expressed profound satisfaction, considering the Bundesliga title well worth the consequences he endured. Even global superstars were not immune to such tactics, as Ronaldo demonstrated with a notable diving incident in 2002. During the World Cup, Brazil was playing against Turkey when a Turkish player kicked the ball towards Ronaldo. Ronaldo seized this opportunity, collapsing dramatically to the ground, which resulted in the Turkish player being sent off. Brazil went on to win the match 2-1 after this controversial incident, eventually proceeding to win the entire World Cup tournament. The stadium crowd booed the referee's decision to send off the Turkish player, clearly disapproving of Ronaldo's actions. Ronaldo was subsequently fined £5,000 after the match for his dive, yet he remained largely unconcerned about the penalty, having secured a World Cup winner's medal for his country. Entering the 2000s, cheating extended beyond actions on the pitch, delving into the personal lives of football's biggest stars. In 2003, Ryan Giggs, a prominent player for Manchester United and globally recognized for his exceptional skill, engaged in a shocking off-pitch affair with his own brother's wife. This clandestine relationship continued for 8 years, a significant period of profound deception. The affair persisted even while his brother's wife was pregnant with his brother's child, adding another layer of betrayal. After 8 years, the deception was finally exposed, shattering his brother Rodri's life. Rodri described his emotions upon discovery as a profound mix of numbness, shock, and disbelief. Giggs initially denied the affair, attempting to maintain his facade of innocence. However, Rodri confronted Giggs with irrefutable proof in the form of text messages and pictures, leading to his eventual admission. David Beckham, another Manchester United legend, also faced an infidelity scandal in 2003, drawing global attention. Beckham, famously married to Victoria, was accused by Rebecca Luce of having an affair. At the time, Beckham played for Real Madrid and was arguably the most famous footballer globally, making the scandal a worldwide sensation. The story generated significant international media attention, with every detail splashed across headlines. Victoria Beckham later characterized this period as the most challenging in their entire marriage. Despite the public scrutiny and immense pressure, the couple eventually reconciled and remained together, having overcome the immense challenge. In 2006, Italian football was rocked by the Calciopoli scandal, a seismic event that exposed widespread corruption. This scandal resulted in Juventus, one of Italy's most storied clubs, being stripped of 2 Serie A titles and relegated to Serie B, a truly unprecedented punishment. Other Italian clubs, including AC Milan, Fiorentina, and Lazio, along with smaller teams, also faced severe points deductions and various other penalties. The scandal involved a sophisticated match-fixing scheme where specific referees were allegedly chosen to favor certain teams. This manipulation was executed through untraceable, anonymous phone calls made using foreign numbers, designed to evade detection. The scandal ultimately became public, shocking the foundations of Italian football and leaving fans heartbroken. Each implicated club received penalties commensurate with their level of involvement in the conspiracy. Juventus, as the most heavily implicated club, experienced the most severe consequences among those involved, including their demotion to Serie B and the revocation of 2 league titles. AC Milan received a 30-point deduction for the previous season and an 8-point deduction for the upcoming season, severely impacting their standing. Lazio was deducted 3 points and banned from participating in the UEFA Cup the following season. Fiorentina faced a 15-point deduction and was removed from the Champions League, highlighting the broad reach of the scandal. The demotion to Serie B led to a significant departure of several key players from Juventus, including global stars like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Patrick Vieira, and Fabio Cannavaro. Despite this exodus of talent, Juventus retained enough quality and determination to secure promotion back to Serie A the subsequent season, showcasing their enduring resilience. The widespread nature of Calciopoli highlighted systemic corruption within Italian football's highest echelons, revealing a deep-seated problem. Doping in sports, including football, often involves substances like anabolic steroids or stimulants, which are designed to enhance physical performance, giving an unfair edge. The hand of God goal remains one of the most debated moments in World Cup history, perfectly showcasing the blend of Maradona's genius and his cunning audacity. Diving, or simulation, is a persistent ethical issue in football, often proving incredibly difficult for referees to judge accurately in real time during the fast-paced game. The penalties for diving, as seen with Ella and Ronaldo, demonstrate that authorities aim to deter such behavior, even if the on-field outcome sometimes stands. High-profile personal scandals involving athletes like Giggs and Beckham highlight the intense public scrutiny faced by sports figures where their private lives become public spectacle. Calciopoli led to a significant overhaul of Italian football governance and integrity measures, although issues of sporting integrity continue to surface globally, reminding us of the ongoing battle for fairness. The 1990s and 2000s brought an unsettling clarity to the darker side of football, where the pursuit of victory often overshadowed ethical boundaries. These incidents sparked vital conversations about integrity, challenging the very spirit of competition. In our next chapter, we will explore how technology began to intersect with these issues, bringing new dimensions to the age-old struggle between cunning and fair play. The 1990s and 2000s brought an unsettling clarity to the darker side of football, where the pursuit of victory often overshadowed ethical boundaries. These incidents sparked vital conversations about integrity, challenging the very spirit of competition. This era, in particular, marked a period where cheating in football became even more extreme, encompassing both on-field deception and systemic corruption that shook the very foundations of the sport. One figure inextricably linked with both genius and controversy in this period was Diego Maradona. His name resonates not just with sublime skill, but also with the most infamous act of deceit in World Cup history. In 1986, against England, Maradona scored what he later infamously dubbed the Hand of God goal. This deliberate handball, unseen by the referee, allowed Argentina to eliminate England, showcasing a blatant disregard for fair play that cemented his reputation as a cunning operator. While this occurred before the 1990s, it laid the groundwork for a pattern of behavior that would resurface in the subsequent decade. Indeed, Maradona's career, despite its brilliance, was repeatedly marred by instances of testing positive for doping, which refers to the use of banned performance-enhancing substances such as anabolic steroids or stimulants. In 1991, he was banned from football for 15 months after testing positive for cocaine. This suspension was a significant blow to his career, but it wasn't his last encounter with such a predicament. During the 1994 World Cup, Maradona again tested positive for banned substances, specifically ephedrine. On this second occasion, he did not evade punishment, facing another substantial ban that effectively ended his international career in disgrace. The Hand of God goal remains one of the most debated moments in World Cup history, a potent symbol of the blend of Maradona's genius and cunning. Beyond individual acts, the lengths to which some would go to gain an unfair advantage became truly unsettling. There were even reports of a country sending drones to spy on French training sessions, an espionage tactic that pushed the boundaries of competition far beyond the pitch. Such sophisticated methods highlighted a growing desperation to uncover tactical secrets, revealing a new frontier in the age-old struggle between cunning and fair play. This era also saw a World Cup winner caught doping and subsequently receiving a lifetime ban from football, underscoring the severe consequences that awaited those who chose to break the rules in pursuit of glory. On the field, the art of simulation, or diving, became a persistent ethical issue, often difficult for referees to judge in real time. Andreas M. Eller, a player who successfully used deception, notably helped Borussia Dortmund win the Bundesliga title in 1995. The Bundesliga season that year saw an intense battle between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, with their direct match likened to a Bundesliga final due to its immense significance. During this crucial encounter, Dortmund midfielder Andreas M. Eller simulated a foul in the penalty box. Despite Emler's later claims that he did not dive, observers noted a clear lack of contact. Regardless, a penalty was awarded, securing the game for Dortmund. This victory directly contributed to Borussia Dortmund clinching the Bundesliga title. The consequences, though delayed, eventually caught up with M. Eller. He was later banned for 2 games, fined, and suspended from the national team. Yet, Emler expressed satisfaction, considering the Bundesliga title a prize well worth the personal consequences, a telling sign of the prevailing win at all costs mentality. Ronaldo, one of football's global superstars, also engaged in a notable diving incident in 2002 during the World Cup. In a group stage match between Brazil and Turkey, a Turkish player kicked the ball at Ronaldo, who was on the ground near the corner flag. Seizing the opportunity, Ronaldo exaggerated the contact, rolling dramatically and clutching his face, despite the ball clearly hitting his leg. This theatrical dive resulted in the Turkish player Hakan Ünsal being controversially sent off for a second yellow card. Brazil subsequently won the match 2-1 after the incident, a victory that set them on a path to eventually win the entire World Cup tournament. The stadium crowd booed the referee's decision, clearly sensing the injustice. While Ronaldo was later fined $5,000 for his simulation, he remained largely unconcerned, having secured a World Cup winner's medal. These penalties for diving, like those faced by M. Eller and Ronaldo, demonstrate that authorities aim to deter such behavior, even if the on-field outcome sometimes stands, leaving a lingering sense of unfairness. Entering the 2000s, cheating extended beyond on-pitch actions, drawing prominent figures into high-profile personal scandals that highlighted the intense public scrutiny faced by sports figures. In 2003, Ryan Giggs, a prominent player from Manchester United and globally recognized for his skill, engaged in a secret off-pitch affair with his brother's wife. This deception continued for an astonishing 8 years, even while his brother's wife was pregnant with his brother's child. The affair was eventually exposed after nearly a decade of secrecy, devastating Giggs' family. His brother, Rodri, described his emotions upon discovery as numbness, shock, disbelief. Giggs initially denied the affair, but Rodri confronted him with irrefutable proof in the form of text messages and pictures, leading to an admission. The fallout was immense, severely damaging Giggs' reputation and relationships. In the same year, David Beckham, another Manchester United legend and, at the time, arguably the most famous footballer globally playing for Real Madrid, also faced an infidelity scandal. Beckham, married to the pop star Victoria, was accused by his former personal assistant, Rebecca Luce, of having an affair. The story generated significant international media attention, dominating headlines and thrusting their private lives into the public eye. Victoria Beckham later characterized this period as the most challenging in their marriage, a testament to the immense pressure and emotional toll such scandals exact. Despite the intense scrutiny and personal hardship, the couple eventually reconciled and remained together, demonstrating the resilience required to navigate such public controversies. These personal transgressions, while not directly impacting game outcomes, chipped away at the idealized image of sports heroes, reminding fans that even the most celebrated athletes were fallible. However, it was the Calciopoli scandal that truly rocked the foundations of Italian football in 2006, exposing systemic corruption within the sport's highest echelons. This widespread manipulation of matches led to Juventus, one of Italy's most storied clubs, being stripped of 2 Serie A titles and controversially relegated to Serie B. But Juventus was not alone. Other Italian clubs, including AC Milan, Fiorentina, Lazio, and several smaller teams, were also implicated and faced severe points deductions and other penalties. The scandal involved a sophisticated match-fixing scheme where specific referees were allegedly chosen to favor certain teams in key matches. This manipulation was executed through untraceable anonymous phone calls using foreign numbers, an attempt to hide the tracks of those orchestrating the scheme. When the scandal ultimately became public, it sent shockwaves through Italian football and beyond, prompting widespread outrage and calls for severe punishment. Each implicated club received penalties commensurate with their level of involvement. Juventus experienced the most severe consequences: demotion to Serie B for the first time in their history, and the revocation of their 2004-05 and 2005-06 league titles. This drastic measure led to the departure of several key players, including global stars like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Patrick Vieira, and Fabio Cannavaro, as they sought to remain in top-flight football. Despite this player exodus, Juventus retained enough quality and resilience to secure promotion back to Serie A the subsequent season, showcasing their enduring strength. AC Milan received a 30-point deduction for the previous season and an 8-point deduction for the upcoming season, preventing them from automatically qualifying for the Champions League. Lazio was deducted 3 points and banned from participating in the UEFA Cup the following season. Fiorentina faced a 15-point deduction and was also removed from the Champions League. The widespread nature of Calciopoli highlighted a deep-seated and systemic corruption within Italian football. It ultimately led to a significant overhaul of Italian football governance and integrity measures, although issues of sporting integrity continue to surface globally, demonstrating the ongoing battle against those who seek to undermine the spirit of fair competition. The 1990s and 2000s, therefore, presented a complex picture of football. While the game continued to captivate millions, these 2 decades also peeled back the veneer of innocence, revealing a darker underbelly where the desire for victory, fame, and wealth sometimes eclipsed ethical boundaries. From individual acts of deception and doping to widespread institutional corruption and personal scandals, the period exposed the multifaceted challenges to integrity that would continue to evolve with the sport itself. These incidents forced football to confront difficult questions about its values, its governance, and the fundamental principles upon which it was built, setting the stage for even more complex ethical dilemmas as technology began to intertwine with the game. This is Chapter 4, and we have seen how the lines blur between gamesmanship and outright deception. We have explored the grey areas, but sometimes a moment shatters all ambiguity, leaving behind a stark picture of a win-at-any-cost mentality. In the year 2010, during a World Cup quarter-final match, the entire football world witnessed an incident that generated widespread condemnation. The stakes could not have been higher. A place in the semi-finals was on the line for both Uruguay and Ghana. The tension was palpable as the game remained tied after 90 minutes, necessitating extra time to find a winner. During extra time, Ghana exerted significant pressure on the Uruguayan defense, pushing for a decisive goal. The ball found its way deep into the penalty box, appearing certain to cross the goal line and secure Ghana a historic victory. In that crucial split second, Luis Suarez intentionally used his hand to block the ball on the goal line, denying a clear goal with a deliberate action. The referee immediately showed Suarez a red card, sending him off the pitch for the blatant handball, but his controversial act had already provided Uruguay with a crucial lifeline. A penalty kick was awarded to Ghana, but in a moment of agonizing drama, the Ghana player missed the target. The match remained tied, ultimately leading to a tense penalty shootout. Uruguay emerged victorious from the shootout, progressing to the next round directly because of Suarez's goal line handball. Ghana was thus eliminated from the World Cup in heartbreaking fashion, and Suarez became known as Diablo or Devil in Ghana, a moniker that spoke volumes about the hurt and anger felt by a nation. He famously refused to apologize for his action, stating that while he committed the handball, the Ghana player was responsible for missing the subsequent penalty. This incident perfectly exemplifies strategic fouling, where a player knowingly commits an infraction to prevent a certain goal, accepting the personal penalty for a collective team benefit. 3 years later, in 2013, an even more bizarre instance of cheating unfolded in Brazil, involving a club masseuse. During a match, the masseuse, in a truly unique display of unauthorized intervention, made a double save on the goal line. Immediately after his audacious action, the masseuse fled the scene, anticipating reprisal from the opposing players and officials. His incredible double save maintained a draw for his team, which proved sufficient for them to advance to the next round of the cup. This extraordinary masseuse incident highlights the often informal and chaotic nature of some football leagues, particularly in lower divisions or less regulated environments where the boundaries of acceptable behavior are pushed to their absolute limits. By 2014, the advancement of technology began to usher in more sophisticated cheating methods. Before a World Cup match, France detected drones flying conspicuously over their training ground. It was soon discovered that Honduras was using these spy drones to observe France's tactics, attempting to gain an illicit advantage. The drone spying ultimately proved ineffective, as France decisively defeated Honduras with a convincing 3-0 victory. However, the tables turned in 2017 when Honduras claimed to be victims of similar drone espionage themselves, with the alleged culprits this time being the Australian national team. Drone surveillance represents the new frontier of tech cheating, forcing sporting bodies to constantly adapt their rules to encompass unprecedented forms of technological interference. By 2022, lasers emerged as a new and unsettling form of cheating in football, bringing fan interference to a new extreme. Egypt experienced a severe instance of laser cheating during a critical period, as FIFA had allowed only one more African country to qualify for the World Cup. The tension culminated in a decisive penalty shootout between Senegal and Egypt, with the two teams tied after 2 thrilling games. Mohamed Salah, expected to score given his consistent performance for Liverpool, stepped up to take a penalty. However, Senegal fans employed lasers to deliberately blind Salah during his crucial penalty attempt. The laser interference regrettably caused Salah to miss the target, a devastating blow for Egypt. Sadio Mane then took a penalty for Senegal, unhindered by any lasers, and he scored, securing Senegal's qualification for the World Cup. Egypt was eliminated, with the clear and undeniable cheating causing widespread devastation among players and supporters alike. The use of lasers to disrupt players points to an escalating form of fan interference, moving far beyond traditional forms of intimidation to direct physical impairment. Most recently, in 2024, World Cup winner Paul Pogba was banned from football for 4 years due to doping. This tragic development marks a significant downfall in Pogba's illustrious career trajectory. The ban effectively means he will likely not play professional football again, ending what could have been an even greater legacy. The doping process began in August when Pogba, an unused substitute for Juventus in a Serie A match, was called for a random doping test. 1 month later, Pogba's test results were positive, indicating the presence of illegal substances. A counter-analysis of the original sample also confirmed these positive results, leaving no room for doubt. Paul Pogba received a 4-year ban from professional football, rendering him ineligible to play until August 2027. By August 2027, Pogba will be 35 years old, considered well past his athletic prime, making a return to elite football highly improbable. Pogba asserted that he did not intentionally consume performance-enhancing substances. Despite his claim, the positive test results confirmed he had an unfair advantage, regardless of intent, underscoring the strict liability principle in anti-doping regulations. Athletes are solely responsible for any substance found in their bodies. The ongoing fight against doping involves increasingly sophisticated testing methods and educational programs for athletes, a continuous battle to maintain the integrity of the game. The evolution of cheating, from a strategic handball to a masseuse's brazen save, from drone surveillance to blinding lasers, and finally to the quiet tragedy of doping, demonstrates a constant cat-and-mouse game. It is a perpetual struggle between those seeking unfair advantages and the authorities trying to maintain fair play, a relentless pursuit of the edge that defines football as much as any brilliant goal. This continuous dance between transgression and regulation ensures that the stories of fairness, or the lack thereof, will forever be woven into the fabric of the beautiful game. If you have your own memories of these moments, or stories of cheating that left an indelible mark on you, please share them below. If you have your own memories of these moments, or stories of cheating that left an indelible mark on you, please share them below. These incidents, while stark in their individual circumstances, collectively paint a picture of the multifaceted nature of cheating in football. Luis Suarez's infamous handball in 2010 stands as a prime example of strategic fouling. Here, a player knowingly commits an infraction, fully aware of the personal penalty, a red card, but accepts it for the greater good of his team, preventing a sure goal and providing a crucial lifeline. It's a calculated gamble, and in Suarez's case, it paid off spectacularly for Uruguay, albeit at the cost of Ghana's World Cup dream and a global reputation for sportsmanship. His unapologetic stance, placing the blame for the missed penalty on the Ghana player rather than his own deliberate handball, only solidified his Diablo persona in the eyes of many, highlighting the fine line between cunning and outright deception in the heat of competition. The bizarre tale of the Brazilian club masseuse in 2013 making a double save on the goal line offers a stark contrast. This incident highlights the often informal and chaotic nature of some football leagues, particularly in lower divisions or less regulated environments. The sheer audacity and the impromptu nature of the act, followed by the masseuse's hasty escape, speak to a world where boundaries are constantly pushed and the rulebook is sometimes a mere suggestion. While far removed from the high-stakes drama of a World Cup quarter-final, it underscores how the desire to gain an advantage, however unconventional, permeates all levels of the game. The fact that this double save allowed his team to secure a draw and advance suggests that such desperate measures, even when clearly outside the rules, can sometimes achieve their intended, albeit illicit, outcome. As technology advanced, so too did the methods of gaining an unfair edge. The drone surveillance incidents involving France and Honduras in 2014, and subsequently Honduras and Australia in 2017, represent the new frontier of tech cheating. These events force sporting bodies to adapt rules to encompass technological interference, recognizing that the battle for information was moving beyond traditional scouting. While the drones ultimately proved ineffective in France's dominant 3-0 victory over Honduras, the very act of deploying them signaled a shift in how teams sought to exploit weaknesses, pushing the envelope from on-field tactics to off-field espionage. It raised significant questions about fair play, privacy, and the evolving role of technology in competitive sports. By 2022, fan interference had escalated to direct physical impairment through the use of lasers. The decisive World Cup qualifier between Senegal and Egypt, ending in a penalty shootout, became a chilling testament to this. The deliberate blinding of Mohamed Salah with multiple lasers during his penalty attempt moved far beyond traditional forms of intimidation. It was an outright assault on a player's ability to perform, directly influencing the outcome of a critical moment. Salah, usually clinical, missed, while Sadio Mane, unhindered, scored, securing Senegal's qualification and plunging Egypt into devastation. This incident underscored a worrying trend where passionate support morphed into malicious interference, forcing authorities to consider how to protect players from such tactics. Paul Pogba's doping ban in 2024, leading to a 4-year suspension, highlights another crucial aspect of the fight for fair play, the battle against performance-enhancing drugs. His case underscores the strict liability principle in anti-doping regulations. Athletes are ultimately responsible for any substance found in their bodies, regardless of intent. While Pogba asserted he did not intentionally consume illegal substances, the positive test results confirmed an unfair advantage had been gained. This ruling effectively marks the end of his professional career at 35, a tragic downfall for a World Cup winner. The ongoing fight against doping involves increasingly sophisticated testing methods, rigorous anti-doping protocols, and continuous educational programs for athletes, all designed to safeguard the integrity of the sport and ensure a level playing field. The evolution of cheating in football, from strategic fouls and informal rule-bending to sophisticated technological espionage, direct fan interference, and systematic doping, demonstrates a constant cat-and-mouse game. This relentless pursuit of the edge, whether through cunning, desperation, or outright deceit, defines football as much as any brilliant goal or tactical masterstroke. As governing bodies implement new rules, introduce VAR to correct on-field errors, or enhance anti-doping measures, those seeking an unfair advantage inevitably find new loopholes or develop novel methods. This continuous dance between transgression and regulation ensures that the stories of fairness, or the lack thereof, will forever be woven into the fabric of the beautiful game, challenging its ideals and continuously testing the spirit of sportsmanship. The very nature of competition, with its immense stakes and emotional investment, seems to foster an environment where the temptation to bend or break the rules is an ever-present shadow, pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable and forcing a constant re-evaluation of ethical conduct within the sport.